Our, Fa- our Father who art in, our Father who art in heaven, today we remember those men and women who have died in service to our country. We pause to reflect on the lives sacrificed while protecting our freedoms. Our Father who art in heaven, today we remember those men and women who have died in service to our country. We pause to reflect on the lives sacrificed while protecting our freedoms. We confess that most days we are oblivious to the price paid by men and women in uniform, and yet we live every day in the freedoms. We confess that most days we are oblivious to the price paid by men and women in uniform, and yet we live every day in the freedom they laid down their lives to give us. So today, we recall the words of Jesus when he said, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." And let us not forget that each life lost represents other lives that are left to pick up the pieces. We lift up widows and widowers, brothers and sisters, parents and children of the servicemen and women who fought valiantly for our country. We ask for your peace and comfort to never leave them. God, we thank you for the lives of these men and women. May their memory and their service never be forgotten. Amen.
Would you stand and join us this morning as we remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom? want to welcome you to our service today, those of you who are here and joining us online. If you are visiting, if you were not given a visitor card on the way in, we would ask that you take one, fill it out, and you can put them either in the offering plates or in the offering receptacles at each door. We especially want to welcome back with us this morning Pastor Shane Ash and thank him for coming and leading us. I do have a late announcement. If you are driving a white Volkswagen car, your parking lights are on. So, we do have battery chargers and jumper cables, so you may want to just go out and take care of that. I have some exciting news. I received a call and an email from our district superintendent this week. And as you know, the church board has been working with the district superintendent to find our next pastor. Through prayer, the surveys that we've filled out, and the interview process, we have voted to extend the call to a candidate to become our next pastor. He was here 2 weeks ago. Because we are live streaming, we are still not able to, or not allowed to say his name, but you can reach out to any one of the board members. Their names are in the bulletin for information about this person. His resume will also be available in the foyer for you to review, but cannot be taken from the church. But it's there if you wish to. All members in good standing are invited to vote on June 4th. According to the manual, we have to have 2 consecutive Sundays to vote, or to announce a vote. So all members in good standing will be invited to vote on June 4th. We are also, the district superintendent has also allowed us to extend a vote for friends of the church. Although the membership vote is the only one that counts towards the calling, we want to give the opportunity for our friends who tithe, give offerings, give of their time, give of their talents to be part of this process. So you will also be able to vote for this process. For the candidate to become a pastor, they need 2/3 favorable vote. So I ask that this remain part of your prayer, and we are looking forward to the future of what God has in store for the Church of the Nazarene here in Plattsburgh. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, so I want to remind you that our church office will be closed. The phones will still be monitored if you have an emergency. So feel free to come. Zoom prayer Thursday evenings. That's online, and if you want to be part of that process, you can look in the bulletin. The e-news will also give you that. We're adding to our recreational ministries, and so if you are interested in being a part of that or partaking, there are sheets in the foyer for you to fill out. Vic, you kind of look like you're ready to go to work on the road. Yeah, I think there are. Would you, there's some garbage there you missed right there. How good are you, Vic? Hey, I think you've done that a couple times. I have that though I can't do. The boys can play baseball pretty good. It's because I taught them, because they never knew where the ball was coming.
One more time.
Thanks. I can't catch or throw a ball to save my life, but would you mind telling me kind of what you're doing here?
I wouldn't mind at all. These are a great group of candidates for Adopt a Highway. Coming up a week from Saturday on the 10th, we're going to meet here at 8 a.m. and we clean up about 2.5, 3 miles on the Commodore McDonough Highway from the corner all the way out to the ferry. It's not painful. It takes less than 2 hours. We meet here at church at 8 a.m. for an orientation, just a 10-minute thing on safety, because there are some things, guess what, you don't want to pick up when you're doing this. And we found out about those. We'll let you know. It's not a long time. It'll probably take us about 2 hours at the most. We split into groups. We usually have about 18 people. I have a black folder here in front of me. We already have 5 people signed up. We need about 18. Now, the age qualification for this is if you're bringing children, they have to be 12 or older, and you have to stay with them, which makes sense safety-wise. So we're hoping that I'll be in the lobby afterwards. Just check and see with me and sign up. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's more fun than work, okay? Believe me, that's why we get people coming back. Oftentimes it gives you an opportunity to work with people that you haven't spent time with, and it's a pure joy. So overwhelm me. When the service is over, I'm going to go out there and wait expectantly. So everybody's going to go out the other door, right? Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Would you join us as we continue in worship this morning?
Jesus, you have given us freedom. Now no longer bound by sin and darkness, living in the light of your goodness. You have given us freedom. I'm dressed in your royalty. Your Holy Spirit lives in me. I see my past has been redeemed. The new has come. Now I have resurrection power living on the inside. Jesus, you have given us freedom. Now no longer bound by sin and darkness, living in the light of your goodness. You have given us freedom. Freedom. You have given us freedom. You have given us freedom. My chains are gone. Freedom. You have given us freedom. You have given us freedom. Hallelujah. Freedom. You have given us freedom. You have given us freedom. My chains are gone. Freedom. You have given us freedom. You have given us freedom. Hallelujah. Now I have resurrection power living on the inside. Jesus, you have given us freedom. Now no longer bound by sin and darkness, living in the light of your goodness. You have given us freedom. Now I have resurrection power living on the inside. Jesus, you have given us freedom. Now no longer sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. Worship Your holy name. Lord, I will worship Your holy name.
You may be seated. And if the children would like to go to Children's Church, you can follow Miss Sue at this time.
I think Tim only forgot one announcement, and that is after work, or after church, I may need a little help with my white Volkswagen in the parking lot. I hope it's smart enough to turn itself off. I'm hoping that's the case, but we'll find out, won't we? Good morning. It is really, really good to be with you, back with you. It's been a while. I'm looking forward to being here with you over the next couple of weeks as well, and then perhaps maybe a few Sundays in July. Within the church calendar, we acknowledged this earlier today, and Sue was saying as she was taking the children away today that they're going back to make mobiles today with the kids to celebrate the day of Pentecost. This is Pentecost Sunday in the church calendar. The Bible passage that's typically read on this day and remembered on this day, you're familiar with it, I'm sure, and that is Acts chapter 2, right? The tongues of fire, the voices, the languages, the listening. We know that passage fairly well. The disciples had gathered together in one place, and suddenly it says there's a sound of wind, pneuma, ruach, our imaginations are supposed to remember from Genesis, the sound of the rushing wind. And each one is filled with breath, with spirit. And that breath and spirit is, of course, presence as well, and God. And they begin to preach to the crowd around them. And the crowd hears them in their own language. I find it interesting that some of them immediately accuse them of having too much to drink. We won't preach on that today. That was supposed to be funny, I'm sorry. But it says that many people were amazed, and Peter stood up and, quoting the prophet Joel, declares, "This is just like Joel said it would be, that here in the last days the Spirit will be poured out on people, and they will dream dreams and see visions, and they'll prophesy, and God will show up with splendor and wonder, and everyone who gives praise will be saved." You remember that story, right? We typically read that one today, but we're not going to. But we need to have it in our imaginations at least. And I suppose it's because I've read that passage and perhaps preached on that passage so many times in my kind of ministry life that in my own imagination I can actually, it's as if I were there. I can see it. I have images. I have pictures of the thing. Maybe it's the flannel board from when I was in Sunday school as a child. I don't know, but the images are there. Maybe they're there for you as well. I can see the faces of the disciples when they begin speaking. I can see the amazement of the crowd when they begin to hear and understand. I used to preach a message. It was the miracle in the speaking or in the hearing, and I'll let you decide. It's interesting, right? Have you ever seen those videos of perhaps a young child who has just been given the gift of a cochlear implant? Have you ever seen that or heard that or watched that happen? And the video is usually capturing the very first moment of that child who is beginning to get the vibrations, to hit the nerves. The brain then understands the sound. And there's this miracle of hearing and shock and awe and amazement. Have you seen any of those? Anybody ever seen that? Pretty cool stuff. I like that. I remember when my nephew Colton first received his cochlear implants, there's a video of him standing just outside of the clinic in front of my sister's minivan and opening and closing the door and listening to it click and click and then doing it again and then just giggling and laughing and this thing that he had seen so many times before that was a silent mystery of opening and closing now suddenly had sound to it, and he found it hysterical. Still, he just graduated from high school a couple weeks ago, and we remember and tell that story as part of the miracle of his own hearing. The ordinary action of just a door closing and opening was suddenly a fascinating activity because of the whisper and the vibration of sound. If we're honest, it seems that those of us that can hear, we tend to lose the joy and wonder of hearing, do we not? It just is. And those of us that have the ability to still just open our eyes and see, we tend to kind of lose the wonder at being able to see. Some of us in the room know just how radically an unexpected diagnosis or disease can shift the perspective of gratitude in life, does it not? Almost instantly, when we actually recall that which is. It's interesting, isn't it? What we are talking about right now and where I'm headed today is that we are talking about chaos as a doorway to wonder. I hope those words make a little more sense in a bit. Chaos as the doorway to wonder, or loss as the doorway to gratefulness. Those things we see as unwanted circumstance in our life are often the very things that invite us to life. Today I want to offer us a new way of imagining, of imaging, of hearing, of understanding, of seeing and experiencing our own life. Because many of us have become numb to life. We can get quickly within our day depressed with meaninglessness. We can arrive to being angry with expectations, frustrated with our sense of powerlessness. And for others, we become empowered with ego and a sense of control, filled with a sense of judgmentalism, usually to prop up the empty self. And when I look broadly at the church today, especially in our Western context, what we see is largely a people in need of remembering where and who they are. So the passage I want to draw our attention today on this Pentecost day is Psalm 104. Do you have the ability to turn there? We'll have a few of the verses on the screen, I believe. But if there's a Bible around you or near you, open that to Psalm 104. We know the Psalms to be a book of songs, poetry. Here it was often used in the liturgy of the temple. And this particular psalm, Psalm 104, is called a creation song. It has roots and influences from Egyptian religion, but here is being used to acknowledge the God of Israel, Yahweh. The temple worshipers sang this hymn. They recited this poem. Perhaps you would leave worship and you would go home, worship, and you would hymn this song, and these lyrics would stay with you as you went about your everyday life because it became ingrained in how you think and how you see the world around you. I think that's the purpose of song and singing. It was a reminder of where and who they are. It's like as if it's a whisper in the ear of the one singing. Woohoo, take a look around you and see. Look clearly at what is and remember whose world you're living in. So we'll begin in a moment with verse 24. But those first 23 verses of Psalm 104, they are powerful reminders, and I'm going to read out of the Message today because I just love the way that Eugene Peterson has used language to kind of illustrate and bring some vividness and some new flavor to what is there. And if you're looking upwards at the first few verses, you'll see, God, my God, how great you are. That's the beginning of the song. And then this beautiful poetic language, beautifully and gloriously robed, you're dressed up in sunshine. Now, isn't that interesting? What's it like to imagine God being dressed in sunrise? Today my friend Guido came with me, and we left Saranac Lake, and we were just looking at the beautiful view, and there was not a cloud, and the sun was coming in, and both of us were just like, dude, slow down, this is incredible. Dressed up in sunshine. And those verses continue on. You are blanketed, you've blanketed earth with ocean, you've covered mountains with deep waters. And then I like the way he says this. Then you roared and the waters ran away. Your thunder crash put it into flight. You've started the rivers, and now the rivers run and the wild animals drink. You make grass grow for the livestock, hay for the animals that plow the ground. Guess who that is? That's you and me, creatures. And then it goes on to say there in about 13 or 14 verses, 13 and 14 there, the moon just keeps track of the seasons for us. It's the automatic calendar. The sun is in charge of how many hours you have. And when it's dark, the night takes over. Young lions roar, looking for their supper, but when the sun comes up, they vanish again. Meanwhile, it says, men and women go out to work, busy at their jobs until evening, and then we get to verse 24. What a wildly wonderful world, it says. I love that statement. Because what the psalmist is trying to do is to capture with words the best we can this understanding of just how chaotic but yet wonderful this place we live in is. What a wildly wonderful world, God. You made it all with wisdom. Recently, I've been fascinated by a little thing on YouTube that you can go to, and you can look at these drone videos that fly over like parts of the world, and you could go to like Mexico or Italy, or you can go anywhere you want to go in the world of the imagination. And it's these nature shots of this drone video flying over, and it's just this beautiful, like, meditative state of seeing things from a different perspective. And I talk to my residents and my students, and we say, look, you can't see anything but beauty. Look at this shot of just this town and this beautiful arrangement. But then what happens? If you were to go out of that drone and you were to go to the ground level and you were to enter the doorway of the house, there within the house is going to be life like you and I know it. There's going to be someone grieving over a loss. There's going to be someone who just received some bad news, a bad diagnosis. There's going to be somebody who's struggling with a sense of purpose. There's going to be perhaps even a young child who's experiencing abuse. You see, on the ground level, there is some wild and some chaos in our life, is there not? There's some brokenness, and we might even call it evil in this world, is there not? But yet, sometimes when we get to a different perspective, the only thing we can see is beauty. Both are true realities, and both belong together. The psalmist is saying, here is a wildly wonderful world, O God. You have made it with wisdom at your side, made earth overflow with your wonderful creations. You see, this song is written to remind us about the reality of the rumble of chaos, and is also written to remind us to be glad that even the chaos is kept in order by Yahweh. It is a confession that the chaos is here. We do not deny it. There's some really bad stuff that happens in this world and in our lives. And I want to remind us today that the chaos was present before creation. We know this, Genesis 1:1, those great Hebrew words, tohu wabohu, meaning the void, the chaos existed prior to creation. It was the same chaos that was present in the storm when Jesus was sleeping on the boat. You see, the scripture is full of awareness that the way that this life is shaped up, it is full of chaos, full of brokenness, but yet full of beauty and full of goodness. Wildly wonderful, we might say. Yes, it is both wild and wonderful. And in our lives, each one of our lives, there is wild chaos that is present. It's the wild chaos in our culture of money-controlled politics. It's the chaos of a family amid a divorce. It's the chaos of unexpected cancer, the chaos of addiction that takes over a life. It's the chaos of a culture that worships violence. It's the chaos of corporations who crush anyone in their way. It's the chaos of an economy dependent upon war and overconsumption of cheap goods. Yes, the chaos was present, and we do not, as Christians, deny it. Rather, we tell the truth of it. And in telling the truth of it, we begin to see our own participation in it. And for the writer of this song, there was no hiding from the wrong truth. It's a telling a truth of what is and inviting us to imagine a world in which the effect and the threat of chaos are limited and contained, and that is good news. This song refuses to offer any specific explanation. Rather, it invites us to a place of wonder, not control, trust, not denial. It goes on, though. Oh, look! Oh, look! The psalm invites us. Oh, look! Do you have eyes to see? Oh, look! The deep, the wide sea, brimming with fish, past counting, sardines and sharks and salmon. I just like that. Eugene Peterson's brilliant there on that one, right? It's full of everything, from the little meaningless sardine to the mean sharks, to the glorious salmon. It's all there. And then watch this. Look at this next phrase. Ships plow these waters, those waters, and Leviathan, your pet dragon. Oh, what beauty in this song. To recognize that among the chaos, the wildness of the sea, a ship just does its best to stay afloat. Does it not? It does its best to just not be taken over by the wave. And yes, it can kind of make its way, but that ship has no power in control of that wave, in control of the ocean, in control of the sea. The sea is a much more powerful force. The ship just kind of does its best to rudder its way through the stuff. Are we getting the imagery about life yet? Here it is, this powerful force. And then it says, oh, and by the way, those giant whales, or maybe they're orcas, they are threatening to you, but oh, to God, it's just kind of like, hello, nice little pet dragon. Hi, how are you? Because we forget that the powers around us, the chaos around us, they are limited power. I hope I'm going someplace today. We making a note yet? All the creatures look expectantly to you to give them their meals on time. I love the imagery of God's pet dragon. If you think about large sea creatures to the ancient eye, these were fearful beasts. And while the whales or the orcas might strike fear in the heart of a fisherman, the songwriter reimagines them as just simply joyous pets for God. Do we see the reframing? Do we see what happens when we get a different perspective on life? All creatures look expectantly to you, O God, to give them their meals on time. Perhaps this is exactly why Jesus taught us to pray, just give us enough bread for today, for us to recognize our own dependence. The psalm continues, you come, they gather around. You open your hand and they eat from it. If you turn your back, interesting, they die in a minute. Take back your spirit and they die. Take away your breath, the pneuma, the ruach, and they die. They revert to original mud. Send out your spirit, your breath, and they spring to life. The whole countryside in bloom and blossom. You see, the psalmist is inviting us to sing as a sign of God's breath, to remember that we are drastically nothing, small, finite, and dependent on the breath, the gift of breath. What would happen if we thought of breath as God's own presence being hosted in you? And the psalmist is warning us here a bit and saying this, that when God is not welcomed, we may find that there's an absence. We might find ourselves to a place of exhaustion, depression, despair. We might find ourselves trapped in the ego of pride, this false sense of thinking that we are self-created, self-sufficient, self-possessed. When we get trapped in that sense of ego, I just try to remind myself, Shane, hold your breath for 10 minutes and see what happens. Because I am not self-made, and neither are you. We are dependent upon the system created around us. Without breath, we indeed are reduced to mere death. We sing, you see, of God's breath. We remember, you see, God's creation, to remind ourselves that we are drastically nothing, that we are dependent. But yet, we are. Here we are. Look at verse 31 through 32 as we get to the end of this, and then we'll look to apply it. The glory of God, let it last forever. Let God enjoy his creation. He takes one look at earth, triggers an earthquake. Points a finger at the mountains and volcanoes erupt. You see, chaos, we think. Yet to the one singing this song, it's not unfettered chaos. No, it's still order of things. Look at verse 33. Oh, let me sing to God all my life long. Sing hymns to my God as long as I live. Let my song please him. I'm so pleased to be singing to God. But clear the ground of sinners. No more godless men and women. Oh, my soul, bless God. Now, what in the world does it mean to clear the ground of sinner? No more godless men and women. I reckon the church has spent way too much time trying to define who and what a sinner is. But rather than thinking about a list of wrongdoing, which is usually determined by whoever it is that's making up the rules at that time, I think I'll stick with the writer of this psalm's understanding. And that is that the sinner is one who is trying to self-exist. That is, it's one who is trying to pretend that they have no need for anything or anyone. They are the ones who think they can manage the chaos of life by themselves, who think they can hold their breath and survive without the gift of breath, who forget that they are mere creatures and believe that instead they are in charge of creating. I think the songwriter is trying to invite us with all of this imagery and language to tell us, if you can't see this wonderful life and all that it is with wonder, you are missing out. You are invited to hear and see in different and new ways. Take a deep breath and see it's all gift. Look around you and see your own insignificance while also remembering your significance. I've been fascinated with this word recently, awe. Can we say it together like the doctor would say, like, right? Awe, all right? Awe. Go ahead. Let's hear it. Stretch it out. Awe. You hear a little bit of that breath coming out. Let's do it again. Hold it out with me. Ready? No, keep going. I'll stop so I can listen. But All right, you hear it? The sound of breath, right? Say it again. It's the sound of breath coming across your vocal cord. When I went to school, the word awesome was really cool. I'm not so certain it is anymore. But awesome. Awe. Did you know how Webster defines the word awe? It's the combination of fear and wonder. Awe. I love that. How I maybe illustrate this the best, have you ever stood beside the Grand Canyon? Anybody been out west? Midwest? How about the Niagara Falls? That's closer, right? Anybody been to Niagara Falls? All right. There's something about the vastness of the Grand Canyon or the power of the Niagara Falls that you stand there and you are both filled with fear of, like, if I took one wrong step, whoo, I'm gone. But yet wonder, like, how close can I get? I want to step clear to the edge, past the signs that say no further at the Grand Canyon. I want to go clear to the edge until I can feel my body like shaking in my knees, right? Like, but yet I can't help but want to get so close. There's both a combination of fear and wonder. And what the psalmist is inviting us to do is to practice awe as a form of worship, as a way of living. And what does this mean? Well, you can practice awe every day, and the psalmist is just throwing stuff out there like, well, when I look at the sea, I don't see something to be afraid of. I see this vast, beautiful thing that has all kinds of chaos and wonder to it. And what would it be like for us in our day, in our life, to practice awe? What would it look like for you and I to do that? Well, this morning, let's practice. You ready? I'll just use today, actually. When I get to a spot that you think I should have some awe, guess what your job's going to be? Awe, right? Awe, that's it. Just remind me. So here's the story. Let's practice. This morning, I woke up. Oh, you're catching on, Guido. You got it. And the first thing I did was I opened my eyes. See, we're getting there, aren't we? And then I realized, another day in my house. Well, let's pause for a bit, right? Because take it for granted, sometimes all I can see is the projects that need finished still. But I have a house, a warm place to live in this cold Adirondacks. You with me? And I swing my legs over the side of the bed and I stand up. We're catching on, aren't we? And I get up, and I got a little routine in the mornings, but one of the things I do is I get dressed. And I go to my closet, and I think to myself, what do I want to wear today? Are you kidding me? I have choices, options. Do I want to wear the blue pants or the tan pants? Are you with me today? This is all awe, right? All awe. All. And finally, I pick out I don't know, what do I wear today? A shirt. This one. And I hold it up. And if I'm really going to practice awe, watch how this happens. It's more than just the surface. It's more than just, oh, for me, I get to wear this shirt. Oh, look at my options. I like this one. No, actually, the deep practice of awe looks into the deepest reality of things if I want to. I'm going to go for it right here. You ready, church? I'm going to go for it, right? And I pick up this shirt, and I might hold it in my hands. And if I truly have the eyes of the psalmist today, if I truly have the eyes of awe, I would see and say, wonder who it is and how many hands were available and had a hand in this shirt showing up to my closet. You ever thought of that? From the designers to whoever drove it there, to the marketers, to the sellers. Oh, let's go even further. To whoever made it, and this is where we start to have to be truthful about our lives in our consumeristic society. The convenience of having 6 shirts in my closet probably involves somebody someplace else suffering to make my convenient shirt. We're aware, aren't we? You see, all of a sudden, awe can also be both deeply humbling and recognize my place in the world. But I can go further than that. It's like, where did the product come from? Who was the farmer that grew? I don't even know what this is made out of, but, someplace it came from something. Who put the seed in the ground? Oh, who causes that seed to grow? This mystery of this thing we call life. Who causes the water to water the seed, the ground that it's in? The practice of awe. I haven't even gotten dressed yet. And we're practicing awe. And then I go out to the kitchen and I get myself a cold cup of water in the morning. I just turn my faucet on and cold, drinkable water comes out of a faucet in my own kitchen. Are you kidding me, right? You're aware? They're just like, oh, drinkable water right there. Ooh, oh yeah. I ain't got to walk nowhere. Oh, my Midwest just showed up right there. That was great, wasn't it? I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to carry it anywhere. Just water. What am I trying to do today, friends? I'm trying to awake us to the psalmist's invitation to see the world as it truly is. Wildly wonderful. And it's a powerful thing. Why do we want to practice this way? Why would we want to live this way? Well, because it changes everything. Everything. When you begin to experience all those gifts and the response within is, for me? For me? And you got to have a question mark and an exclamation mark after that. It's both and, right? It's for me? Really? Another day? For me? All of a sudden, all of that other stuff, that numbness and that dread, and all of I think exactly what the psalmist is saying about the sinner. The removal of self from the realness of life begins to kick in, and I get the dread, and I get the depression, and I get the anxiety that comes with it of trying to hold up my own existence. But when all things are gift, when all things belong, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So today, in this little Pentecost day, it is an invitation to hearing and seeing in a different way. It is to remind us that we are truly nothing, but yet here we are. It's a reminder that God is the one in all and through all, waiting to be fully experienced in this life, down to the very breath, the presence of God itself. And we are then called to sing, ah, with me today, ah, you got it. To sing about this God-made, God-filled, God-occupied, beautiful world in which we live. And I think that if the church was doing its job of practicing awe, I think we would all be amazed. Abraham Herschel says this: to be spiritual is to be amazed. What would happen if the way you practice your faith was simply with the practice of awe? Dear God, God of this wildly wonderful world, may we look for your activity amid the chaos. May we receive your breath in our proclamation. May we practice awe as a form of faith, as an alternative reality to what is. May we declare and sing as the psalmist has invited us to. In this we pray. Amen.
Please join us in worship.
come with trumpet sound. Oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne. Christ alone, cornerstone, Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, He is Lord, Lord of all.
He is Lord of all. I suppose that's all we had to say today. Could have saved you 30 minutes of time, probably. Through the storm, through the chaos, wildly wonderful. Now let's begin to apply it. It's not just about singing it, it's about humming it when we leave, right? It's about taking it to tomorrow. It's about going into Tuesday and into Wednesday. It's about remembering. Oh, it's chaos, but yet, through the storm, He is Lord. Peace to you. We'll see you next week.